financial system burned the midnight oil last night. Then they came out and said they do have a tentative deal. But will everyone on Capitol Hill get on board? One influential Republican was the very first House member to say that he would vote against the $700 billion bailout. So how does he feel now that there seems to be a deal? He is Representative Thaddeus McCotter, Republican of Michigan, who is the chairman of the Republican House Policy Committee and joins us now. Congressman, good to see you. How do you expect to vote?
Well, nice to talk to you, Eric. I just want to make it clear that while a lot of Republicans and Democrats came out of that room waving around agreements and claiming fleece in our time, Leader John Boehner has not officially signed off on this, and he has certainly not brought it to the House Republicans for their determination as to whether this is in the best interest of the American people. On my part, I consider this an abject betrayal of American taxpayers and our free market system. Let me put this in simplistic terms for people like me to understand. Not the Wall Street, Washington crony capitalists have put a $700 billion bag of dung on taxpayers' doorsteps, rung the bell, and expect you to thank them when you answer it. I think the American people will believe otherwise.
But they say, you know, that if you don't have this, there could be real trouble. I mean, are you willing to potentially risk this country's financial future with opposition to this plan?
The argument that they are making is that Wall Street will not give responsible, honest, hard-working Americans credit unless they are given $700 billion of your taxpayer money. In this age right now, Eric, we are living through the first global economic panic of the new economy. If outside forces and Wall Street and everyone else are able to do a leverage buyout of the American taxpayer, at this point in time, we will set a precedent for generations to come that will endanger the future prosperity of not only ourselves in the present, but Americans for generations to come. But we need are free market solutions which incentivize Wall Street to come in and clean up the mess that they made themselves. Fundamental structural changes that allow capital to flow back into the United States, that allow investors to come off the sidelines, incentivize them to come in and purchase as many of these assets as possible to see if they can bring them out of the system, unclog it, and allow credit to flow. What we need is also a we need a public backstop that does not fleece the taxpayers up front out of $700 billion in assets. Now, that is $700 billion. I listened to Senator Gregg. He has continued to reassert the access that Secretary Paulson has to $700 billion in taxpayer money. I agree with Senator Gregg that that is exactly what will happen. Now, as for the arguments of the other things in the bill that might be appealing, we should not have to give $700 billion in taxpayer money to Wall Street to get those good things out of a bill. Well, those good things in the bill should be the basis of negotiation.
They're not saying they're not saying they're giving it away, that the taxpayers will eventually make money from this if it turns a profit. So very specifically, what do you want changed, or can that be changed this afternoon when Congress gets back into session?
Eric, the fundamental premise is flawed. For government to say that they know better how to invest your money in a market no one else will spend their own money is fatally flawed. The reality here is you're being rushed to judgment. You're seeing the taxpayers engaged in trying to protect themselves, and it will be up to House Republicans to protect them. As for the arguments that somehow Wall Street's going to pay us back, why do you think private investors aren't putting their money in? You know a distressed beggar is not the best bet to pay back his debts in the future. If liquidity is the problem and needs injection now, what happens if the economy goes down, there's no liquidity? How are you going to get your money back out of an illiquid system if it happens again?
And finally, what's your prediction? What's going to happen possibly tomorrow?
My prediction is that House Republicans are going to stand firm for the taxpayers, our free market system, and the prosperity of generations to come, and will not impose Wall Street socialism on our constituents.
Well, there's some defiant talk from one member of the House, Thaddeus McCotter of Michigan. I'm sure back behind closed doors later on this afternoon. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Eric.
Good to see you.